Today we go deep, showing how one of the biggest and most influential billionaires in crypto is predicting not only for Apple to take after the lead of Tesla, but for companies like Oracle and a cascade of institutions that are publicly traded companies in the United States will start adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets, creating a new paradigm where the government, which is controlled largely by the biggest and most influential Fortune 500 companies, would be forced to have friendly regulation for crypto based on this new adoption of a treasury asset. This is by all means one of the biggest pivots and most bullish cases for Bitcoin in the entire crypto space that we could have asked for. And so if you guys are excited to go deep and hear why Charles Hoskinson is predicting for not only Apple, but potentially Oracle and a flood, an avalanche of institutions to follow them, then go ahead, destroy that like button, because today we're charting a path to the $1 million Bitcoin and you're not going to want to miss out. We also have some huge new announcements from SuperFarm. You're definitely going to want to watch this one front to back because it is packed with value. And of course, if you guys want to get ahead and stay ahead of the market, we've been calling some of the most undervalued and biggest gainers in the entire space, helping you separate the good stuff from the other stuff. So if you love gains and you love crypto, then make sure you subscribe because no one helps you get ahead of the market for free like we do. Of course, quick note, remember, as always, sadly, I must warn you, there are scammers impersonating me in the comments. If there's an Elio Trades that responds to your YouTube comment with a phone number or anything like that, it is not me, it is a scammer, and sadly, I cannot block them from doing it. So just make sure you use your noggin and don't send money to anyone over the internet. With that said, let's get to the content. One of crypto's most influential innovators, Charles Hoskinson, has just dropped the dime, explaining how this particular move from Elon Musk is going to cause a cascade of institutional adoption. But more importantly, that cascade of institutional adoption will affect the all-important regulations around the industry, because what drives regulation in America, if not the Fortune 500 companies and the richest entities in the world? They own the banks, they own the politicians, and they change the laws to fit their agenda. So having some anti-crypto regulation come out of the frame when every big institutional entity starts to adopt it as a reserve asset becomes absolutely unthinkable. Let's hear what Charles Hoskinson has to say right now. You're definitely going to want to pay attention here.
It's fun to see the markets where they're at, but I've been around long enough to know that this is an ephemeral moment. So you enjoy it, you really do, but they go down as your warning video has, and then they go back up and they go down. But actually, there's a bit more permanence, I'd say, this time around than in 2017. We see not only institutional investors, but now Fortune 500 companies taking treasury positions. And Tesla is just the beginning there. I think you're right to say that Apple has a good chance of coming in. Oracle definitely has a good chance. Larry Ellison, he was good friends with Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was the photographer at one of his weddings. And so he's kind of like replaced his love for Jobs with Musk. And he always wants to be the guy. So it wouldn't surprise me if Oracle took a position. And if they did, then perhaps Dell, because they're neighbors. And then it just cascade throughout. And if enough of these guys take positions, the regulations have to be pro-crypto. The Fortune 500 companies own the government.
So there you have it. Everyone is chasing Elon Musk, and especially Apple, who were considered the innovators in chief before Musk came along and stole their thunder. We also know that Larry Ellison is extremely infatuated with Elon Musk, which means that he will likely move either with Apple or before Apple. And Oracle is almost a $200 billion company. Apple has almost $200 billion in cash reserves. Each one of these could occupy a significant chunk of the entire Bitcoin market cap with their available cash reserves. And if they are to move into this space, it is inevitable that we will see cascading institutional adoption, because the why do it has turned into the why not do it. And the risk of being exposed to Bitcoin has turned into the risk of not being exposed to Bitcoin. We have finally hit an inflection point, and that is why I'm of the belief that we are entering into a Bitcoin super cycle. The super cycle, which begins with the smart money, the institutions. Funnily enough, only a few million% gains after Bitcoin began, we finally get the smart money coming in. Apparently not smart enough to get in there before the astronomical gains, but smart enough to get in there before what could be an avalanche of global adoption, where Bitcoin starts to reach its first billion users. The kind of adoption cycle that could send Bitcoin up to hundreds of thousands of dollars and even millions of dollars per coin. But to me, buried within this is even a little nugget of wisdom and caution from Charles Hoskinson, which is that these moments tend to be ephemeral.
But I've been around long enough to know that this is an ephemeral moment.
Even when it seems that everything is going right, it's important that you learn to take profits, because oftentimes these moments have turned to bearish moments, and then people have been really upset that they didn't take those profits. That's what happened in 2017, though it does feel quite different. It does feel much more permanent. It does feel much more real than it did back in 2017, with real functioning financial services and technology, insurance, a wide spectrum of uses and utilities. However, the reality is that emotional markets tend to overprice and then underprice things, regardless of the true intrinsic value. So just remember to take profits. That's just my word of wisdom on the way up, because I know for a fact that if there's another bear market, people are going to come back to me and say, Elio, you said it was going up. And even though it did go up, and even though I begged you to take profits, well, guess what? Some of you will still be upset that you didn't do so. And I'll have to play you this clip. And remember, taking profits is always fine, because if we remain in a permanent bull market, then you can use those profits to invest in yet another good opportunity.
And the buying power US dollar has just gone down by 40-50%. You see it in the raw materials, the price of lumber, the price of steel, the price of food. I'd say that all the money printing, we've at least the last 12 months seen a 25% decline in the US buying power. And then, of course, they say, oh, no, that's not the case at all. Look at the CPI and all this other stuff. You know, guys are nuts. Absolutely nuts.
How do they cheat that? I mean, how do you cheat the inflation numbers? Because they keep reporting that there's no inflation. I know that when I'm in the US, I feel the inflation.
Because the index is rigged. The index is rigged. They don't really put a proper rent metric in. They don't really put a proper metric in for raw materials. The price of food is all wonky. I mean, you just see it. Go to King Soopers, go to Walmart, look at the price of steaks, look at the price of vegetables and fruit. It's going up. Rent is massively inflated. Academic inflation, too. The price of a university. From when I went in 2004 to today, it's nearly 2 or 3 times the price, and that's just less than 2 decades. It's extraordinary the amount of inflation we've seen, and the government keeps saying there's no inflation, and then they go to the negative interest rates, and then you got Biden wanting to print another $2 trillion. So the jig is up, and if you are managing a large treasury, you're getting fewer and fewer things you can put your capital into to get a reasonable return. And then suddenly this crypto industry comes around, and there's actual laws and rules here that are non-human. They're protocol enforced, and they're deflationary. And they say, look, we can't increase the supply. And they say, wow, that's great. And to your point, it's a hell of a lot more convenient than having gold. And also you can evade capital controls with it, which is a big deal if you do international business.
And once again, we shine a light on the narrative of false inflation claims, which is the reality that there is a tremendous amount of inflation. Look at college tuition, look at healthcare, look at rent, look at cars, look at all of the things that we need for a high quality life, not maybe milk or the consumer goods index that they're using that can be heavily subsidized. And as Charles says here, even rigged to give you a false impression that there's no inflation. That's absolutely incorrect. You know it and I know it. And how could it possibly be the case that you could print over 40% of the world's supply of something within a 12-month period and there not be some degree of inflation? We're living in a financial fantasy land, and Bitcoin is a stiff dose of reality. And obviously there are added benefits like no capital controls and all these other things that really add value on top of that. As you can see, the storm is brewing for Bitcoin, and when Bitcoin moves, it is absolutely no secret at this point that the entire altcoin space moves with it to dramatic and exponential degrees. I mean, look at Cardano and how fast it's moved over the past few months on the promise that it can bring a scalable and more functional version of Ethereum. The ETH killer movement seems to be alive and well. And though I don't think ETH gets killed, I do think that there's a lot of money to be made right now in alternatives like Polkadot, Cardano, and even Binance Smart Chain, as we've been saying.
So crypto's here to stay. And I think these prices have much more resilience in them than they did in 2017. In 2017, they were much more retail and spongy. And we all knew looking at those charts, they weren't healthy. But here, this is much more institutional, and they're taking positions, buying and holding, and then changing the regulatory environment. So it becomes a big component. The other thing is China's building their own national currency, their CBDC, and the Federal Reserve is going to do the exact same thing. So I think we're going to see the dawn of CBDCs, and they're going to chip away at the BIS monopoly. And there's going to be a lot of central banks issuing new digital currencies that are native assets that are going to run on these cryptocurrency protocols because it's easy to wrap them and trade them.
And as you hear, the retail crowd from 2017 was much more finicky, whereas these institutional investors, they know what they're doing. They're taking long-term positions and they're buying in at levels not too much lower than where we are now, creating an institutional price floor that we can see as a foundation for future success of this industry. This is not a passing fad. This feels like something of true permanence, and it's very important to realize that we're in a transformational moment, not only for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but for the entire financial world, and you're a part of it. This is an absolutely fantastic interview. You're definitely going to want to check it all out. Make sure you go over to Ran Nooner's channel, Crypto Banter. Ran is a good friend of the channel here. We'll make sure to have him on for an interview himself soon, as well as Charles Hoskinson. I'll link the full interview in the description of this video. But that is not all we have for you today, as we have just rolled out one of my favorite and most important updates for what you can expect from SuperFarm. Today, we are introducing you to SuperFarm's metaverse. Now, a metaverse, which has been popularized by the movie Ready Player One with their concept of the Oasis, is the concept of an open world where items from one part of the world can be used in another part of the world. You can think of an outfit that you can wear on your character in one video game as well as another video game. That's just one idea. But the reality is that the NFT metaverse has been a long, elusive concept that's been tried a few times. The only thing is, most of these metaverses start with the infrastructure, the actual underlying tech they need for the metaverse, and not the actual use case, like the video games and the digital worlds that you'll use these assets in. Now, in my opinion, building those end use cases is actually harder than building the technology behind the metaverse. The technology behind the metaverse is still complex. However, it's not as hard as the actual end use cases. And this is why we spent years building video games and unique digital experiences that can't be forked and copied and easily replicated. We've spent years building the actual utility for these NFTs before we're introducing the actual underlying infrastructure, the metaverse infrastructure. Now, a few weeks ago, we introduced you to SuperFarm, which is of course the project as a whole. We did our KYC to make sure that we were being compliant with our crowd sale. That was our way to essentially let some community members into this project early, and it was one of the most smashing successes we've seen here in crypto land. With our KYC provider, who by the way did the Polkadot crowd sale, they said we were getting way more demand than Polkadot, averaging almost 200 hits per second. We actually crashed their site with the amount of demand we have. So that is absolutely insane, and I just want to say thank you guys so much for the overwhelming flood of support on something that I've poured my heart and soul into for the past few years. Now, the SuperVerse is an interoperable, overarching metaverse that combines the three main aspects of SuperFarm, which is NFTs, our partners, and AAA video games. Now, we have a diverse array of partners that will be using the SuperFarm platform. Now, these partners could be industry-leading token ecosystems, mainstream brands, creators, celebrities, and more. And we're going to be creating unique and exciting NFTs for them, helping them come to market through our exclusive SuperFarm NFT drops, which we aim to make an industry-leading way for NFTs to come to the market, as well as we're connecting them to the AAA video games that we've already built and continue to build. This is the way we achieve true decentralization and true utility in an NFT metaverse. In just a few days, we'll be announcing the Elio Trades community NFTs. Now, I'm not just putting out a collectible here. These NFTs will actually have voting power, so you guys can control what I cover here on the channel. It's going to be really exciting to have an interplay between our biggest and most excited community members and the content that happens right here on the show. Not only that, these cards will unlock items within our video games. So these things are far more than just digital art, though the art is pretty cool if I do say so myself. They're going way further than that and adding utility so that every NFT holder has not only a say on what happens here within the community, but also can access unique digital experiences. This is the full realization of what we've been trying to achieve with NFTs for years, and I think it's pretty cool. There's actually so much more to this, so I'll link the full article in the description of this video so you can check out the full details on the Superverse, and make sure you're following SuperFarm DAO on Twitter, as well as a member of the Telegram group t.me/SuperFarmDAO, because the NFT drops that we're going to be doing for the Superverse are going to have particular utility and meaning within our entire ecosystem. You're definitely going to want to be the first one made aware when we do put out news about these NFT drops, and we aim to make them some of the hottest hottest tickets in the entire NFT world. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, hearing from one of the biggest and most influential billionaires, Sir Charles Hoskinson, the creator of Cardano and one of the most legendary developers in the space, about the future of Bitcoin after Elon Musk has fired the shot heard around the world, adding Bitcoin to the Tesla balance sheet, how it will inspire Apple, Oracle, Dell, and potentially an avalanche of more institutional investors that will have the net effect of completely changing the regulation in this country to be crypto friendly. Because of course, who controls the regulators besides the biggest companies? We are living through a true renaissance, and it's important that you realize how lucky we are and how much opportunity is in front of us. And if you guys are getting value out of me sharing my strategies with you and how I view the market, then please smash that like button. And remember, as always, that each and every comment below this video is entered to win your very own Ledger Nano S or hardware wallet of your choosing. We're covering trends and coins before they go completely parabolic, helping you get ahead and stay ahead of the market. And if you guys want the absolute best coverage in the space, helping you get into the biggest gainers before they go mainstream, then do yourself a favor and subscribe, because that is a free and easy way for you to get ahead and stay ahead of the market. But make sure you have that bell button on, or else you might miss the episode or you'll find it way too late. With that said, my name's Elio Trades. I thank you so much for watching. You can follow me on Telegram or Twitter. The links for both of those are in the description. Once again, I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode.